Good morning and welcome to Monday Manna. I'm your host, Frank Adams. I want to talk with you today about the art of speaking so other people will listen. The art of speaking so that other people will listen. The Bible actually has a great deal to say about the Christian's speech. In particular, the Bible has a great deal to say about how leaders communicate. Those of us who are in leadership, communication should be one of the most important skills that we study and develop in our lives. The Bible actually has a great deal to say about communication. Let me give you a couple examples from a single proverb, Proverbs chapter number 16. Verse 13 says, the righteous lips are right lips are the delight of a king, and he loves him who speaks what is right. Righteous lips, lips that speak what are right, are the delight of a king, and he loves him who speaks what is right. Also, the scripture says, the wise of heart is called discerning, and sweetness of speech increases persuasiveness. The scripture also says in verse 23 of Proverbs 16, the heart of the wise makes his speech judicious and adds persuasiveness to his lips. The heart of the wise makes his speech judicious, or shows good judgment through the speech, and he adds persuasiveness to his lips. Verse 24 of Proverbs 16 says, gracious words are like honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body. Verse 27 says, a worthless man plots evil, and his speech is like scorching fire. So God has a great deal to say about what constitutes good and healthy speaking. So we're talking this week about the art of talking so that other people will listen. Communication is not merely the ability to talk. It is not merely saying the right words at the right time. You can do all of this and still not communicate effectively. It's interesting that Peter Drucker, the father of modern management, observed that 60% of our problems as leaders and workers are communication problems. 60% of our problems stem from improper communication. 50%, says Drucker, of our problems that cause divorce is in the area of communication. Marriages break down when communication breaks down. Leadership breaks down when communication breaks down. Relationships break down when good communication breaks down. So we want to learn as much as we can about communication and about our speech. Here's a simple fact that I wasn't aware of, and that is the impact of the tone of your voice. 90% of all friction in daily life is due to the mere tone of our voice. 90% of friction and conflict in our daily life is due merely to the tone of our voice. So that's wonderful to know that we can be saying the right thing, but if we use the wrong tone, then we can destroy everything that we're trying to do. When we speak, our words communicate or convey thoughts, and the tone of our voice is very significant in communicating our heart to other people. So let's talk about the art of talking so that people will listen. There are basically three levels of communications that we need to think about. The first level of communication is verbal communication, and this speaks of the words that we select. And this has an impact on the people's hearing. So communication is, first of all, verbal. It's the words that we communicate or that we select or that we use, and it impacts the hearing of the people. But in good communications, we're also aware not only of the verbal aspect of communication, but also the nonverbal aspect. This deals with our body language, our posture during communications with other people, our body language, our posture that we take, the tone of our voice, the tenseness of our body, all communicate things, and people see those things with their eyes. So there's verbal, those are words that we use, and that affects people's ears. They hear what we say. And then there's the nonverbal, which is our body language, and basically it impacts what people see in our communication. But then there's also an element to communication that is neither verbal nor nonverbal, but are basically subliminal. In other words, this involves the spirit of the communication, or the heart in which the communication is delivered. So, communication experts, they tell us that only 10% of our communication is represented by the words that we say. 30% of our words is represented by sounds that we make in enunciating those words. And 60% of our communication to other people has to do with body language. Isn't that something? 60% of what we communicate and what others hear, they hear it by interpreting our body language. 30% is represented by the sounds that we make, the tone that we use, the elevation that we take our voice to, and only 10% of communication actually has to do with the words that we select. I think that we as leaders can jeopardize our leadership effectiveness by failing to learn to study the art of communication, talking to people so that people will listen. Not all leaders are good communicators. We need to learn to communicate and to communicate in such a fashion that people will actually listen to us. Let me share with you why it might be, just some suggestions that I have gleaned from other studies, why people may not be listening to you. Number one, it may be that in all actuality, you talk too much, which basically means that your voice is so familiar, it's like elevator music in an elevator. So people just, when they hear your voice so often, that they will not stop and pause and give you their undivided attention because they hear your voice all the time. Self-control is an element of communication. Don't talk too much, and then people will listen to you when you do talk. Number two, you don't say enough. In other words, people don't feel like you're being honest in your communication. It's always that which you didn't say, that which you left unsaid, that people begin to fixate on because they're never certain about exactly what you're saying. So why people don't listen? You talk too much, too often, too frequently. You always have an opinion, an input. You don't say enough when you do speak about critical issues. They're always wondering what you're withholding. And it may be that you find that people just simply think that you're too eloquent in your speaking, and they feel inferior to you. So we have to learn to shape and use the words that are appropriate for the audience for which we're speaking. Number four, people may not listen to you because when you do speak, you're derogatory. People do not listen to derogatory communication. Number five, people may hesitate to listen to you as a leader because in other conversations you have a tendency to exaggerate the facts and the reality. And so people are left to discern how much of that was just an exaggeration, how much of that was an overstatement, and how much of it really represented the truth. And then another reason that people may not be listening to you is when you misuse or misrepresent your authority. People, when they speak with people in authority, they want to know that they've been listened to and that they've been heard, rather than just the misuse of your authority and ignoring what they're saying and giving a command or a directive and just send them on their way. People won't listen to leaders who communicate and misuse authority to actually keep from having to hear and process what people are saying. Another reason that people may not listen to you as you just assume too much. You need to dialogue with people rather than assume what they're saying. Communicate to them, take time to listen to their dialogue so that you're not assuming, but you're understanding from their communication. There's several reasons why people will have more of a tendency to listen to you. And number one, when you are consistently honest in your communication. My friend, if you ever get caught in a lie, my friend, your credibility goes right out the window. Remember, when you always tell the truth, then you don't have to worry about what you said. You'll always say the same thing. Secondly, people listen to you because they respect you and have confidence in you as a person of integrity. Thirdly, People feel like when they communicate to you that you're open and that you accept others and that you actually communicate to them love and acceptance so they feel safe in their communication to you. My friend, uh, dear leaders, you need to understand if you're having struggle with people following you, take a look and begin to look at how you communicate to people and see if there might be some skills and some tools that you can pick up that might assist you in that area. God bless you. Have a wonderful week, and we'll continue on these thoughts of communication in our broadcast next week, the Lord willing. God bless you, my friend. Have a wonderful week.